It's been disputed for decades, but Nagorno-Karabakh is now under Azerbaijan's control. As thousands of Armenians flee, its self-declared government says it will cease to exist. So, what does the future hold for the region? And what will happen to its separatist movements? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Mohammed Jamjoom. Azerbaijan is now in full control of Nagorno-Karabakh. That appears to mark the end of decades of fighting over the disputed enclave. Armenia and Azerbaijan have struggled for control of the region for decades. It's internationally recognized as part of Azerbaijan, but is home to a large population of ethnic Armenians. Fearing reprisals, they're now fleeing across the border. So, what will become of them? And could this have implications for separatist struggles elsewhere in the world? We'll go to our panel in just a moment, but first, Mohammed has this report.
Tens of thousands of refugees are leaving the place they once called home. Ethnic Armenians who say they no longer feel safe now that Nagorno-Karabakh is entirely under the control of Azerbaijan. Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan says what is happening is a crime against humanity.
In a few days, there will be no more Armenians left in Nagorno-Karabakh. This is an act of ethnic cleansing and depriving people of their homeland, something we have been warning the international community about for a long time. As for Armenia, our priority now is to receive our brothers and sisters deported from Nagorno-Karabakh as carefully as possible and provide their needs.
Earlier this month, Azerbaijan launched a lightning attack on ethnic Armenian forces that controlled part of the Nagorno-Karabakh region. Within 24 hours, the Azeris were in control. Nagorno-Karabakh has long been internationally recognized as part of Azerbaijan, but is home to a large population of ethnic Armenians. Azerbaijan and Armenia have been fighting over it for decades. But this time, Armenia did not step in to protect its people there. Azerbaijan now plans to fully integrate Nagorno-Karabakh into its territory and says the Armenians living there have nothing to fear.
It is clear that the people living in the Karabakh region are citizens of Azerbaijan regardless of their ethnicity, so their safety, security and rights would be ensured by the state of Azerbaijan. I am sure that the integration process of the Armenian people living in Karabakh to Azerbaijani society will be successful.
Nagorno-Karabakh's Armenian separatist leader has been arrested. That's despite a ceasefire deal in which Azerbaijan promised to allow those who laid down arms to leave. The self-declared republic effectively no longer exists. The fate of Nagorno-Karabakh decided by force of arms. And for those refugees who were able to cross the border comes the challenge of building a new life. Mohammed for Inside Story.
All right, let's go ahead and bring in our guests. In Baku is Nigar Arpadarai, a member of Azerbaijan's parliament. In Istanbul is Matthew Bryza, a former U.S. mediator of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. And joining us from Yerevan is Arsen Kharatyan, former foreign policy advisor to the Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan. A warm welcome to you all, and thanks so much for joining us today on Inside Story. Nigar, let me start with you today. Nagorno-Karabakh is now under Azerbaijan's control. Does that mean that the Armenia-Azerbaijan fight for Nagorno-Karabakh is finally over?
Well, thank you very much for having me. First of all, we don't have such a place like Nagorno-Karabakh. The region is called Karabakh. Nagorno is a Russian word which was used previously, but the region is called Karabakh. So, hopefully, yes, we are really keen to have long-lasting peace with Armenia, because the whole thing was around this puppet regime, was occupation of Armenia's, occupation of Azerbaijan's lands by Armenia, and then the puppet regime being there. So now the situation is that the disarmament of Armenian militants in Karabakh continues. So Azerbaijani army collected all the weapons and munitions, and we discover like munitions every day, and the scale is really shocking. For 30 years, this area was a gray zone, was a lawless zone. And hopefully now our main goal is to integrate Armenians of Karabakh, and hopefully this whole, militant and military agenda is closed, because we are really keen to have peace in our region. I would like just to mention that during all this period of time, Azerbaijani army was extremely cautious, was targeting only military civilians, and for us it was very important not to create any kind of a panic among people, among settlements. So we've been trying to do our best to have first steps in integration process. Like we had regularly, we have dialogue with Armenians of Karabakh, with their representatives. We send supplies to them. We send medicines. We send pharma. Electricity is resupplied now. We've sent fuel. So we are trying to make sure that all the necessary things and all the necessary steps are done for civilians. In the meantime, we are trying to make sure that we are cleaning this zone from weapons, from munitions, from mines, from all this illegal matters that was there for many years. And the thing is that the symbolic step.
Nigar, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but let me just ask you about something you mentioned, because you said something that we've heard from other government officials, which is that this region will be reintegrated. But the government of Azerbaijan has not explained how it would be reintegrated. What are the plans for reintegration?
Well, I think the reintegration plans are more or less there. We are discussing it with representatives of Armenians of Karabakh. We already have portal created for them where they can apply and become citizens of Azerbaijan, those that want to stay. But we want to clean this zone, to have a better infrastructure for them, to have a better living condition for them. And the legal base for us is Constitution of Azerbaijan. They will have all the rights as all the other ethnic groups living in Azerbaijan have, because we have many ethnic groups. We have Jews, we have Russians, we have Georgians, we have Turks, we have Talish, Lezgi. So all of them live peacefully. They coexist together in respect and dignity. So this is what we offer to Armenians of Karabakh, because for many years...
Nigar, I'm sorry to interrupt you again, but I just want to ask you about another point you're making. You're talking about an assurance of rights. But the fact of the matter is that on the ground, you have thousands of people, thousands of ethnic Armenians that are fleeing, and they are saying that they don't believe that they are safe. They say they do not believe these guarantees that have been made about their safety. So how do you react to that?
Well, it's obviously, they've been brainwashed for 30 years. The whole ideology was around Azerbaijanis and Armenians being incompatible. And I'm not being sarcastic. This is literally what their President Kharatyan was saying. And this ideology was also promoted by lobby, by diaspora, by all the Armenian politicians. Why? Because they didn't want, their goal was to annex part of Azerbaijan. Their whole ideology was around that. And now when we offer them to stay, when we are saying that we guarantee all the rights, you know what happens? Their delusional myth is dying. It shows that the whole propaganda was false. Their whole ideology was false. But from our side, most of them, when they go to Yerevan, they are being interviewed by media there. And when being asked that, did you have any problems? They said, no, we didn't. We've been told to leave. So the leaders, separatist leaders, these criminals, they told these people to leave. In reality, they are not leaving because of the situation on the ground. They are leaving because of something someone told them, or because of their fear, but not because something happened to them on the ground. They've been hostages of these criminal separatists, and they've been brainwashed by them. Of course, they didn't see anything else. We are offering them a better life. I am telling you, and our government is very keen. We are offering them better life. We are offering them to stay and to become Azerbaijan citizens. And I must also say that in our case, when 1 million Azerbaijanis were expelled from their homes, you know what was what they offered to us? You either leave or you die. So 1 million people were expelled from their homes 30 years ago. They want also to go back. And we want this integration to happen. And we're absolutely sure that it can happen.
I need to go now to Arsen. Arsen, I know you've wanted to jump in. I see that you're reacting a lot to what Nigar is saying. One of the things I want to ask you about is the fact that the government in Azerbaijan is saying that ethnic Armenians have nothing to fear, that they will be reintegrated. First of all, what is your reaction to that?
Thanks for having me. Well, what I'll start with is facts speak for themselves. I mean, as you mentioned, as our host has been saying, over 90,000 people fled Nagorno-Karabakh during the last 3 days. If the life they were going to get in Azerbaijan was going to be so great, why would they want to leave? I mean, come on, talking about the criminal regime. You're talking to the administration, local administration, third time today in Yevlakh. Why are you talking to criminals if they're criminal? You're arresting, picking and choosing whoever you want right now. People are coming with fears, and even on the border, you're stopping them and humiliating them with your media right now as we speak. You're talking about ammunition, weapons, no panic amongst the people. You failed on that. You failed on providing these people any opportunity to ever think about living in Azerbaijan, let alone the situation with human rights in your own country. Freedom House reports are talking about Azerbaijan being a not free country and even Nagorno-Karabakh being partially free. You have medieval...
What are you talking about? Armenia is an aggressor country which has occupied part of Azerbaijani land. And you are speaking about democracy. Democratic country would never do that. And you know what?
Nigar,
people living now, most of them have Armenian passports.
Nigar,
why
let me
are they having Armenian passports, I wonder?
Nigar, let's please let Arsen finish his point. We will come back to you shortly. Arsen, please go ahead.
You can keep the show just for you, Nigar, no problem. You can also do it on your Facebook Live. This is a show with Al Jazeera, and I respected your talk, and I would expect the same from you. Thank you. So the situation on the ground right now is disastrous. People are have lost their homes. They had to leave. Last second, leaving everything behind, and the only place they could go was Armenia, because they're afraid, not just because of the situation in your own country, with no political opponents to the existing government, with no free journalism and freedom of speech, let alone, but setting that aside, the large scale of Armenophobia, the hatred towards Armenians. How do you imagine these people living in Azerbaijan, within the Azerbaijani, with your constitution, if your own citizens are deprived of basic rights? So right now what we're seeing is what you have done is the continued plan of doing the ethnic cleansing. It's a clear ethnic cleansing policy of Azerbaijan that has been in place for a long time, and right now you got what you wanted. So I don't know who you're going to populate those places with, probably your own people. I don't want to talk about it now.
Arsen, let me just ask you.
Mr.
Arsen,
Mohammed, can I reply to this? There were many accusations, and I really want to reply to this.
I will give you a moment to reply. I need to ask Arsen another question here. Arsen, I want to ask you about how Armenia is going to be able to handle helping the ethnic Armenians who are fleeing Nagorno-Karabakh. What are the plans in place for that?
That's a very good question. And right now, as we're seeing on the border, we have medical personnel. We have a lot of basic food, because these people have been deprived of basic supplies for the last 9 months. Right now, we're trying to the larger scheme is to absorb them in Armenia in different regions and towns. Today, as we were following the records, some of the people are staying in the nearby region in Sunik. Some are being dispersed in different parts of the country. A lot of them ended up in Yerevan right now. The government is saying that they have enough housing capacity. However, I'm sure this is temporary. These people have been displaced from their houses, and this is for a small country like ours, 100,000 people in a country of 3 million is going to be a huge problem. I'm not sure that the humanitarian support is going to come from the international community, but the government of Armenia so far is handling it. We'll see what comes in the short term and in the long run.
Matthew, let me ask you your opinion on what happens going forward. What does the future hold for the region? And also, what kind of implications could all this hold for separate struggles in the region and in other parts of the world?
Well, first of all, the main focal point, of course, is going to be what both guests, with Arsen and Nigar, are talking about, the disposition of these people who have left their homes. That's one of the most traumatic experiences in any person's life, right? And they're leaving everything behind. It's true that the government of Azerbaijan, for all my years involved with the Karabakh conflict, had embraced the idea that the Armenians hopefully would stay and Azerbaijanis would return to their homes, the ones that have been displaced. That seems unrealistic right now, but hopefully looking forward, we will see Azerbaijan deliver. As I think we talked about before, revenge is one of the most powerful negative motivators in our human being. And, there were those expulsions Nigar talked about, 800,000. She said 1 million. Some of them were killed. There was a massacre in a place called Hojali. And so it's understandable that the Armenian side would think, oh, my God, there might be revenge. But there isn't yet. There isn't. I don't hear that hatred in Azerbaijani society, by the way. Some quarters, there are extremists, as there are in Armenia. But in general, the government of Azerbaijan is saying something amazing. It's saying, come on, let's try to do this together. We hope you'll stay, and let's go forward to a peace treaty. So the next thing I think is going to happen is a peace treaty. President Aliyev clearly wants it. Azerbaijan is now the status quo power. Prime Minister Pashinyan clearly wants a peace treaty, but he's being reviled for that back in Armenia because he's seen as not having supported the Karabakhi Armenians and somehow being soft and being naive. I do think there's going to be a peace treaty, though, within months, even though it won't be popular in Armenia. The other impact is on Russia. Russia, Prime Minister Pashinyan already said that Russia is no longer a protector of Armenia. This was before last week's military activities. And Putin is furious. And so I think there's going to be a question coming up quickly about Armenia's political orientation. Is Russia still going to play a role? And then Azerbaijan's going to have to figure out whether it wants the Russian peacekeepers to stay.
Matthew, since you're talking about the Russian peacekeepers and the Russian role going forward, I want to ask you about, from your perspective, is what we've seen happen in Nagorno-Karabakh, is this pointing to the fact that in a part of the world where Russia has long been sort of in charge, that the balance of power is essentially changing?
Oh, 100%. I mean, look, during the Second Karabakh War, so in the autumn of 2020, Moscow was sending warnings to Baku not to push too far. You'll recall that Azerbaijan stopped its military operation short of the capital, Stepanakert, or Hankendi, as the Azerbaijanis call it, once Azerbaijan recovered Shusha. At that time, Moscow was telling Azerbaijan, don't push it too far. Today, I don't think President Aliyev's paying much attention to President Putin. It's hard to imagine Russia as having a legitimate role in peacemaking, given its invasion of Ukraine, not to mention invasion of Georgia, 2 invasions of Ukraine. So I think that the prestige of Russia as a geopolitical player is terribly undermined, but it still cares about what's going on. It's still really powerful, and it's still right there on the border of Azerbaijan. So I wouldn't say Russia is no longer going to be a player, but Azerbaijan is charting its own destiny now to an extent that it never could before.
Nigar, I know you wanted to respond to some of what Arsen was saying earlier. Please go ahead.
Just to respond to some ideas, because Mr. Arsen was saying lots of accusations, but let's put aside emotions and just see the fact. The fact says that lands of Azerbaijan were occupied by Armenia. There are four UN Security Council resolutions, dozens of our documents confirming this, and which were ignored by Armenia. So when he's talking about ethnic cleansing, I remember one thing that I want to tell you. You know what was the justification of Armenian side for the occupation of former Nagorno-Karabakh and surrounding regions? They said that they wanted to prevent potential genocide. I would want to repeat that. So for that, they have expelled 1 million Azerbaijanis from their homes. So in reality, Azerbaijan doesn't have any record of ethnic cleansing, but Armenia does. Armenia not only expelled all Azerbaijanis from Armenia, but they also occupied Azerbaijani land and expelled Azerbaijanis from their homes. In Azerbaijan, we have all the other ethnic groups living together. We don't have a record of ethnic cleansing. And also, let's use terminology in a correct way. Ethnic cleansing, when someone is forced to leave, when we are saying that we are offering them to stay and to become citizens of Azerbaijan. So this is not ethnic cleansing by default. Please do not use terminology like that, because you are misleading people. Do not mislead international community. Armenian side managed to mislead international community in the 90s when it invaded our lands. Now it is over. We really want peace. We never had territorial claims towards Armenia. We never had any problems with Armenians living in Karabakh. It was, separatist junta. It was criminals that came there, brainwashed people's minds, and kept them as hostages. Now these people are free. Of course, it is their choice whether they want to leave or whether they want to stay. From our side, we guarantee their safety. If they stay, they will be members of our society. They will enjoy all the rights as Jews have, I don't know, Lezgis have, Tats have, Turks, Russians, all together have. And they will be living in peace and dignity in a much better life. So this is something that is important.
You are disputing now the accusations that have been made about ethnic cleansing, the concerns about it. I want to ask you about the fact, though, that there are Western governments that have been expressing alarm over the humanitarian situation right now. And many of them have started demanding access for international observers to monitor Azerbaijan's treatment of the local population. Is that something that Azerbaijan would agree to?
Well, absolutely. Well, first of all, ICRC was always there, you know. ICRC, their Russian military contingent, peacekeepers are there. And now Azerbaijan offered to UN agencies to come to see the place. So it's all in the discussion, and in due course, it will happen. But you have to understand that this is a heavily militarized zone. There are everywhere mines planted. So if something happens, who will be responsible for that? It's a gray zone. So we have to take care of safety of people coming there now, you know, now that we are in control, we will be able to bring people to show something. Before that, safety issue was there, and also, as I said, ICRC was always in place. So from our side, Azerbaijan is very cooperative. We are cooperating with all the sides, you know. We want to cooperate with Armenia as well. Like, there is a peace deal on the table. And I want also to say that despite the fact that Azerbaijan has a military dominance, you know, upper hand, we won the war, it was Azerbaijan that offered a peace treaty to Armenia. And for 3 years, we are going back and forth, back and forth. Armenian prime minister is trying to do something. He recognized Azerbaijan's territorial integrity, but then he again started supporting separatists in Karabakh, sending them letters of congratulations for separatist regime or whatever, you know. But now it's all over. For us, it is over. Now it is time. And I truly believe, despite all that happened, you know, I believe that we have a chance to have peace now, because Armenia is off the hook. Armenia is finally free of this, you know, of this process of occupation of Azerbaijan's lands. And we are ready to turn this.
Okay. Arsen, let me ask you, I see that you want to react. I will let you do that. But I also want to ask you, do you think there is a chance now for a formal peace agreement?
I'll get to that. Just 2-3 remarks on what has been said. I will actually agree with our Azerbaijani guest. It is all over for you right now because you got rid of Armenians in Karabakh. So no people, no problem, like Stalin was saying. So in that respect, of course, it's all over for you. But I think in the long run, it's not all over. And it's actually a really, really bad thing, because my personal hope was Karabakh Armenians and a true dialogue possibility between Karabakh Armenians and Azerbaijanis could be a good start for the long run for Armenian-Azerbaijani dialogue. I'll refer to a couple of things that have been said also by Mr. Bryza. Yes, I mean, mentioning a couple massacres during the First War. Yes, there have been war crimes, but I want to remind, and talking about not having any history of ethnic cleansing, I mean, we had 350,000 Armenians living in Azerbaijan during the Soviet era. Where are those people? Baku Armenians, Kiroabad Armenians, Sumgait Armenians. The first massacre and attack against Armenians, as you all know, was in 1988 during the Soviet era, when Sumgait Armenians were harassed and attacked, and the pogroms in Baku. So these were all facts. So if this is not ethnic cleansing, I don't know what is. Now, talking about the possible peace treaty, I think right now on October 5th, there will be a meeting, five-party meetings, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and 3 European states, including European Union. I don't know. We don't have high hopes for coming up with something true, as we're seeing that people are being arrested in Karabakh proper, in Nagorno-Karabakh right now. So I think one of the key elements for this would be showing a goodwill and not actually arresting people and handling things. And I think my understanding and my feeling is that we're given a deadline until October 1st. Whoever leaves, leaves. Whoever stays are going to be handled differently. And the massive arrests, including that of the former officials of Karabakh, of Nagorno-Karabakh, right now, as we speak, is not actually helping any kind of peace treaty. We all want a peace treaty, but a peace treaty can only be viable if it actually is inclusive and takes all sides and all parties into account, rather than one party coming. Win-win is only possible in the case if we have a situation that is different from now.
Matthew, Arsen reacted to some of your remarks. Nigar, just give me a moment. Let me ask Matthew here because I want to get his reaction to what Arsen was just saying. Arsen had put a question to you about some remarks you made about ethnic cleansing. Did you want to respond?
I didn't say anything about ethnic cleansing. I never used the phrase, and I think it's a loaded term that it can be used by different people to suit whatever agenda they may have. All I said was that there were 800,000 Azerbaijanis. I chose the word displaced, and there were massacres. And I said on both sides. With regard, though, just to Arsen's points, his point about arresting officials of the former Karabakh separatist regime, that's par for the course in international law. I mean, look at Spain. There are leaders of the Catalan separatist movement who are in prison, right? They're in jail. It is not okay under law, international law, to lead a separatist movement. There are consequences, and that consequence came. The Armenian troops were illegally on Azerbaijani territory. Last time Arsen said, well, there were no Armenian troops in Karabakh since 2021. That was the official Armenian line, but I don't think it's true because there have been corpses of Armenian soldiers that have been now returned to Armenia. So the soldiers were there. This was a festering wound that was working against even Prime Minister Pashinyan, who wants a peace agreement. I'm convinced he does, but he was unable to move as long as there was this toxic political environment. That's still there, by the way. It's still there. There's not a vehicle to implement the agenda of some of the most toxic of the thinking, meaning the Karabakh authorities.
Nigar, we literally have about a minute and a half. Please keep that in mind. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, well, if, again, I would like to say that we had 10,000 Armenian military servicemen on Azerbaijani territory, 10,000 people. So part of them, the people that are living that are Armenian military that were serving illegally on Azerbaijani soil. And what happened that Azerbaijan said that you are free to go. We didn't do anything to them. They are leaving now. But when you say that Azerbaijan is keeping someone, whom do you mean? Do you mean Vardanyan, people like Vardanyan? Yes, he's a notorious criminal, and to have a personality like Vardanyan is very illustrative because he symbolizes the harm that Armenian diaspora brought to the region, both to Armenia and Azerbaijan. He's a money launderer from Russia who came out of nowhere to Karabakh and started doing lots of things to impede, to obstacle the whole process, and he's also the person from the list of sanctions in Ukraine. He's a criminal guy, that is being there. So only those people who were involved in ethnic
Nigar, I'm sorry, but we're just about to run out of time. We're just about to run out of time. Arsen, we have about 30 seconds left. Please go ahead. Please keep your remarks brief.
Thank you. I will, including Vardanyan, everyone else, there should be a process of reconciliation. Yes, we will argue Vardanyan is an Armenian citizen. His political affairs is not something I want to discuss, nor do I want to discuss the other officials. I just want to say there were no 10,000 people in Karabakh. There could have been some Armenians from Armenia who were still left there who are living now, but these are not facts, and you haven't been able to prove that. Now, how you're going to handle...
It was confirmed by Russian peacekeepers. It was confirmed by all the sides. Do not
lie,
please.
All right. Sorry, everybody. We have run out of time, so we're going to have to leave the conversation there. Thanks so much to all of our guests, Nigar Arpadarai, Matthew Bryza, and Arsen Kharatyan. And thank you, too, for watching. You can see the program again anytime by visiting our website, aljazeera.com. And for further discussion, go to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. You can also join the conversation on X. Our handle is @AJ Inside Story. For me, Mohammed Jamjoom, and the whole team here, bye for now.